Wait, did you film it yesterday too?
About what?
Like the practicing stuff?
What?
Did you film like doing the
No, I didn't film yesterday.
Okay.
Okay, but we are filming today. Okay, let's get through this quickly. Now the class finished with about 7 minutes left. Let's see if we can do it in 10 minutes at least. So we're going to discuss the last 30 problems. Okay, here we go. Here we go. Here we go.
Talk up the whole thing.
So everybody understand what's happening tomorrow? Tomorrow, first thing, collect the homework. It's going to be worth 10 points. And then you have 45 minutes to do 45 problems. No penalty for wrong answer now. If I see any paper, Scantron sheet that has any blanks on it, I will take off, however many blanks you have, I will take off an additional that many.
Well, wait, so each.
There's no penalty for wrong answer. So when I tell you 1 minute remaining, then you start guessing like a mad dog.
What's so I'm just gonna grade it like if you get 40 or 45. That's
Yeah.
Oh, that's messed up.
Your score is the number of correct.
Isn't this a standardized test?
Yes.
Then shouldn't there be like a curve or
So it
something?
should be standard.
Yeah, but we are Iolani.
I thought you wanna win.
the exact thing that's on the page?
Bro, why don't you just give
Very
us a
similar.
5-point handicap?
Why would I spend so much time making this if it's not going to
But
help
is
you?
there anything? Why is your class so small?
No one else wants to sit in on
Okay,
your
here we go.
class.
Come on, because I'm hungry, I'm starving, I want to eat.
Okay.
Are you
I'm
gonna
just-
write notes?
Prolong
Yeah,
it.
No, you don't need to review.
Shut up.
Most of the Algebra 2B classes
The party?
do not disrupt the camera. I saw Naga Yugawa 2 here now.
Strike through.
Okay, let's go. Number 21. Did you guys even try these problems or am I just wasting my breath?
We tried them.
What is that supposed to mean?
But we did them.
We failed.
Okay, what is this graph going to be?
It's
If that's a plus sign, it's an ellipse. If that was a minus sign,
Hyperbola.
hyperbola. Okay, so here we go. Now tomorrow it's all multiple choice, so they're going to give you like 5 graphs. You just have to pick it out. You don't even have to draw the graph. So that's why you should be able to do every problem in less than a minute. If you know the basic concept. What's the center of this ellipse?
2, -1.
Okay. Okay. How much do I go left and right? The square root of that number tells you how much to go left and right. Write the number under the x. So
3.
3 left, 3 right. The square root of that number tells you how much to go up and down. So you go 4 up, 4 down, and then you just go. But tomorrow you just pick out the answer. My dog can do that.
You only went up 3.
No, I
No,
didn't.
you went up
I went up
4.
4.
The origin.
No, Calvin.
Trouble.
1, 2, 3,
No, that was 'cause
4.
Yugawa said that.
louder because she was whispering it.
You go. You said I only went 3 up. Strike 1.
Oh man.
I didn't even get strike 1. I always get strike 3.
What we did
It's called as dicks.
No.
Okay.
Does it say to label the? Hey, be careful around the table. Because if you shake the view, I'm gonna be there.
You can't.
Okay, so we don't have to live with one about it.
You just no tomorrow. You just pick up the answer. And you see this? You bubble and B.
No, like when we turn it in, do we need to?
I'm probably not gonna even look at it.
Oh. Okay.
Okay.
No. No.
Wait,
Let me
stop.
say that again. I'm not gonna look. I'm gonna look at it if you did it.
Wait,
I'm not gonna look. I'm not gonna look for details. That's what I meant.
Oh, okay.
Question, Kim?
Can we just, never mind, no, I don't.
Okay, let's just. I thought we were gonna.
Wait, who's gonna grade this? You?
Oh my god.
Stop asking dumb questions.
I'm just asking.
She's not the only one asking dumb questions, you know.
Yeah.
I know.
23. True or false? Now tomorrow, are you gonna get true or false questions tomorrow?
No.
No, because it's multiple choice. It's A, B, C, D, or E. But this is gonna help you do the problem. If x and y are irrational numbers, now before you can do this, do you guys know what a rational number and irrational numbers are?
No.
What is a rational number?
Ask
A number that can be written as an integer over another integer. That's what a rational number is. So an irrational number is a number that cannot be written as an integer over an integer. So, what is an example of a rational number? Like 2/3, right? Because integer over integer. What about 0.6? Is that a rational number? Yeah, because isn't 0.6 the same thing as 6/10? Isn't that an integer over an integer? So that's a rational number. What about 0.3 repeating? Is that a rational number? Yes, it is, because that's 1/3. So can somebody give me an example of a number that's not a rational number? How about the square root of 2? Or the square root of 3?
Hi.
Okay, pi. Well, then for that matter, e then. You guys see the difference? Okay, so if x and y are irrational numbers, then x times y can be equal to 0. True or false? X and y are irrational numbers. So if I take any two irrational numbers and multiply them together, it's possible for me to get 0.
Yes.
No, it's not. Because if something times something is 0, doesn't that mean at least one of these gotta be 0?
I thought one is irrational.
If at least one of these is 0, well, is 0 a rational number? Yes, because that's 0 over 1.
Yeah.
Integer over integer. So the answer is false. Oh gosh.
No, I thought there one is irrational.
I stopped this thing already. 23. Y equals, okay, graph this. Now tomorrow you don't have to graph. They're gonna give you 5 graphs. You just have to pick out the correct one. Now, this is, if I were to graph this, it's gonna be a, rhymes with parabola.
Parabola.
It's so sad. It's a parabola opening
Oh.
up. Now, you think that's gonna be enough for tomorrow? No, because probably I bet you 4 out of the 5 are gonna be opening up. So you gotta know more than that. What's the most important point on the parabola?
The vertex.
Okay, now, what's the fastest way of finding the vertex?
Negative b over 2a.
Oh, Chan. Negative b over 2a, does that sound familiar? That's the x-coordinate of the vertex. So here's a, b, and c. Negative b over 2a. That comes out to 8 over 4, which is 2. So that's 2. How do I figure out the y-coordinate?
Plug it
You
in.
plug it back in, and that's going to be 8 minus 16 plus 5. Now, don't calculate it tomorrow. You're going to be able to compute.
Negative 3.
Okay, negative 3. So the vertex is going to be 2, negative 3. Now, my guess is tomorrow, you're probably going to have 2 of the answers where the vertex is 2, negative 3, and they're both opening up. Except one's going to be thinner and one's going to be wider. So how can you tell you got the right one?
But it's thinner.
How about, look at this. What is the significance of that number there? That is the y-intercept, right? Because if you plug in 0 for x, you get 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then by symmetry, if you go 2 that way, you go there. If you go 2 this way, you go there. And voila! $24. Are you guys, why is the room so dim?
It's hot.
Tori Goy, blame you. No, because he played with the lights, that's why.
And one of them is just out in this part.
You're out. That's a little better, isn't it? Okay, true or false? Some of you are just looking at these problems for the first time, yeah? True or false?
False.
The answers are printed on the back page.
Wait, they are?
I told you yesterday, I gave you guys the answers.
I did not know that.
Where are you guys going to lunch?
No, my mom's here.
Rainbow Drive-In.
Don't touch the table.
Oh, you want lunch?
No, I have lunch. Okay, goodbye.
Are you gonna come visit us downstairs?
What's today?
The college fair.
Oh, the college fair, no.
Wow.
I'm busy at lunch
I wanna see
today.
everyone
My
else.
home to cook rice.
Okay, I'll bring my co-op here later then.
Alright. True or false?
Yeah.
How do you know it's true? Because Chun said false and I said no.
Ah.
Just multiply it out. Isn't this like a different, here, maybe if you wrote it like this, 1/2 power means square root, right? Maybe if you wrote it like this, now can you see it?
Oh.
Difference of squares. So when you multiply a plus b times a minus b, what do you get? You get a squared minus b squared. True. Difference of squares. Okay, we're just going to plow through these. How do you solve an equation like this?
Not.
Yes, you can. Square root both sides, so you get x equals plus or minus, don't forget the plus or minus now, the square root of -9 now. How do you square root a negative number? Yeah, that's when you get the imaginary number I. So what's the square root of 9?
3.
3, and then you just put the I. Finished. Right? You guys remember that from 2A, right? You know, a lot of these problems are 2A and below, you know. And algebra 1. In fact, some of them is pre-algebra problems. It's like ridiculous. Okay, number 6. The sum of 4 numbers is 24. So A plus B plus C plus D equals 24. X is the average of the first 3 numbers. Okay, here are the first 3 numbers. How do you find the average of 3 things? What do you do? How do you find the average of 3 things? You add them up and divide by 3. So it says the average of the first 3 numbers is X. Find an expression for the 4th number. This is the 4th number right there. Well, according to this equation, what is D equal to? 24 minus A plus B plus C, correct? But they want you to write it in terms of X. Well, what can I substitute for A plus B plus C?
X.
No, look at this equation. What is A plus B plus C equal to? How do I get rid of this 3 on the bottom?
So 3.
Multiply both sides by 3. So if I multiply both sides by 3, A plus B plus C is equal to 3x. So this is equal to 3x. And there you go, that's your answer. You just have to do some algebra.
So D equals 24 minus 3x.
Yeah, 24 minus 3x is the answer. Wait, let me look at the answers on the back. You know how long it took me to make these things? And some of you just toss it on the side like an unwanted cat. You guys feeling guilty? No. Okay, this problem is money in the bank. All you gotta do is know your properties of exponents. What do you do with the exponent when it's outside the parentheses? You multiply, you multiply, you multiply. Now what do I do with the exponents when you multiply? You add them. And then what do you do with the exponents when you subtract and then finish? See, that's money in the bank right there. 28. Okay, now here is a quadratic equation. Now this one comes up 2 or 3 times on this test. For what value of k will the equation have 2 equal roots? Now, you know when you solve a quadratic equation, this is what you get, right? Negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. What is this thing called right there?
Discriminant.
That's called the discriminant. Now, what does the discriminant do for you?
It shows on the solutions you have.
Yeah, it tells you the kinds of solutions you have. So if b squared minus 4ac is greater than 0,
2 solutions.
you have 2 distinct solutions, 2 real solutions, right? What would happen if this thing is equal to 0?
1.
Then you have 1 double solution, right? We call it a double root actually, yeah? What happens if this is less than 0? Comes out negative. Then you get imaginary numbers, right? Because you're going to have a square root of a negative number, right? So the discriminant tells you what kind of roots you're going to have. Now, in this problem, it says that for what value of k will the equation have 2 equal roots? That means a double root. That means the discriminant has to be 0. So what is the discriminant? B squared minus 4ac gotta be equal to 0. So, can you solve this equation? 36 minus 4k equals 0. 36 is equal to 4k. Divide by 4, k equals 9. Easy. You just have to know about the discriminant. Okay, 29. Graph this. Now, like I said, tomorrow you don't have to graph. You just gotta pick it out. It's very simple. Okay, what kind of equation is this? What kind of function is this when you have a number to the x power? This is an exponential function. What is always a point on an exponential function?
1, 0.
No, 0,
0,
1. Now, if you don't know anything tomorrow, how about just make a chart like this? Make a chart and just plot points. I mean, if you don't know anything, right? Plug in -1, what do you get? What is 1/3 to the -1 power? That's the problem. 3. What is 1/3 to the 0 power? What is 1/3 to the 1 power? Okay, so if you plot those points, -1, 3, 0, 1, and 1, 1/3, then you get a graph that looks like this, right? Now, Yeah, if you wanna do that, you can, but remember what, we did this in class. If this number is smaller than 1 but bigger than 0, then you have exponential decay. What would happen if this number is bigger than 1, like 2, 3, or 5? Then you have exponential growth. But if you can't remember anything, just make the chart and plot points, right? It's not that hard. Okay, number 30. Okay, now before we do the log problems, let's review logarithms. If you have log base b of a equals c, what does that mean? Change it to exponential form. This means the same thing as b to the c equals a.
Just kidding.
If you can go back and forth between these, oh, hey, I'm filming over here. Nobody can see this side. We're not gonna go back. That's too bad. It's just too bad.
Whoa, that's savage.
Whoever's watching this video is gonna listen.
I'm gonna watch this video tonight.
Okay. So why? You're here. Anyway, log base b of c equals a. No, I did it like this. What did I do? I don't even remember what I wrote. Yeah, just whatever. I just use different letters. Whatever it is. What does that mean? B to the c equals a. If you can switch back and forth between these two, logarithms are easy. So, here we go. Number 30. If b to the 7 is equal to 11, what is log base b of 11 equal to? Okay, now, I don't know what it's called. I'm just going to call it x, okay? Change this to exponential form. This means the same thing as, so follow the rule here. This means the same thing as b to the
7 equals 11.
no,
I can't say the word.
x equals 11.
I'm just gonna.
Hey, get glasses. Okay, so what does x have to be? Look at over here. B to the 7 is equal to 11. So what does x have to be? 7. So the answer is 7, because you have to find this, which is x. This is 7.
I don't understand.
What? I don't get it.
It says.
Oh, I see the X right there. Never mind. The 7 is right there.
Okay.
I still don't understand, but
The 7 is right
Just
there.
do this. Just do that.
okay.
B log base b of 11 is equal to x. Change it to exponential form.
Oh,
This
oh.
means b to the x equals 11. But they already told you in the problem that b to the 7th is equal to 11. So what does x have to be? 7. Okay, number 31. Okay, this is algebra 1. But like I told you, lots of the problems on this test are algebra 1, so you gotta do it. How do you add or subtract fractions?
Common
You
denominator.
make a least common denominator. What goes on the top? 2 times
X minus 1.
minus 3 times.
X plus 1.
And I can trust you guys to simplify that. Yeah.
Cross. We just.
So, why not just distribute the 2, distribute the negative 3, and I think you guys can do it. Why don't you guys try it for a change? Okay, imaginary numbers. How do you expand a minus b to the second power?
Squared.
A squared minus 2ab
4.
4i. Or if you have to do this, Mr. Park, I have a hard time, I'm going to do this in FOIL. Well, then do that then, okay? And then plus b squared.
4.
No, 4.
Four.
Plus. Oh my gosh. Look, last, negative 2 times negative 2 is positive 4. I bet you that answer is going to be waiting for you there. You got, this is multiple choice, you know. They're gonna try and they're gonna have answers there that a lot of students make the mistakes for. Now, what you have to know for this problem is, what the heck is I squared?
Negative 1.
Very good, negative 1. You gotta know I squared is negative 1, so your final answer is?
Negative 1.
No, 3 minus 4i.
Wait, isn't
You
that,
gotta simplify, negative 1 plus 4 is
wait,
3.
isn't that I squared minus 4 plus 4, so isn't that just negative 1?
What? I squared is negative 1.
Yeah, and then
I is just I.
oh, that's an I, my bad.
What is going on?
Can't see.
Then get glasses. Contact lenses. The sum of 2 positive numbers is less than 6. Now it says here, x represents the smaller number, y represents the larger number. Okay, so the sum of 2 positive numbers is less than 6. How do I write that? X plus y
Equals
is less than 6. This is algebra 1, people, you just gotta translate. The square of the smaller number is less than 1 more than the larger number. Okay, can we at least write these down on our paper? Okay, but now it says graph the solution to the problem. You guys remember how to graph these? I'm not sure where you learned it, and it was either algebra 1C or 2A, I can't remember. Okay, but I'll review how to do it. Okay, so what you want to do is solve for y in both of them. Like this equation, if you solve for y, you're going to get y is less than negative x plus 6, correct? Isolate the y. How do you solve for y in this equation? Move the 1 on this side, so you're going to get y is greater than y squared minus 1, correct? Can you guys do that? Isolate the y. I like to put the y on the left because to me it makes it easier, but it's up to you. Okay, let's graph. Now, when you graph inequalities, pretend that's an equal sign. How do you graph y equals negative x plus 6? It's a line, right? The y-intercept is 6. And the slope is negative 1. So if you go 6 down, you gotta go 6 to the right. Correct? Everybody can graph lines, right? Now, when I graph this line, do I do a dotted line? Okay, do I make a dotted line or a solid line? Dotted. You make a dotted line. Because it's less than. If it said less than or equal to, then you make a solid line. Does that sound familiar? Because that means it includes that, but it doesn't. Now, what do I do with this now? That means I'm either going to shade in the below the line or above the line. How do I tell which one it is? Because this is an inequality.
We have to plug in a point.
Yeah, you can plug in a point, but you don't have to. If you want to, okay, that's how your teacher taught you, yeah? Plug in a point of 0, 0. If it comes out true, then shade in that side, right? Like if I plug in 0 for y and 0 for x, I get 0 is less than 6. Is that true? Yeah, so that means this side you shade it. But if you isolate the y is less than, that means you want below. Less than means below. So you shade in everything that's below the line like this. Or you can do it like what Chan said. Pick a point and then plug it in. If it's true, you shade in that side. If it's false, then you shade in the other side. Okay, now, pretend this is an equal sign. What is this graph? It's a parabola opening up, shifted 1 unit down, so its vertex is here. So and then, should I shade it with a dotted line? Should I make a dotted line or solid line? Dotted line, so it looks like this.
Don't you have to coordinate with the two of them?
Yeah, exactly. That's the solution. Where are both of these true? And then, since this is greater than, do I shade in above the parabola or below the parabola?
Above.
Yeah, greater than means above, less than means below. So everything in the parabola, you shade in above, like this. Now notice how I made this one go this one, and this one I went up and down. So now, where do these two overlap? See, if you made one this way and the other down, it's easy to see, right? So where do they overlap? Where do you see both horizontal and vertical lines? Right there! But tomorrow, you don't have to do all this work, you just gotta pick it out. So you know what you do? You go, okay, it's gotta be below the line, but above the parabola. So then you just look at it tomorrow. You don't have to like spend time graphing it exactly, you know what I mean? Below the line, above the parabola. It's easy. Okay, next one, 34. Now 34, this is like pre-algebra right here. In the first half of a season that consists of an equal number of games per half, a basketball team wins 17 out of its first 24 games. Now, if it played 24 games in the first half, how many games is it going to play in the second half?
24.
Thank you. How do you know?
Half.
Because it says, okay? Now, what is the greatest number of games the team can lose in the second half so that it wins at least 75% of its games? Now, if you play 24 games in the first half and 24 games in the second half, what is the total number of games?
48.
48 games. Now, what is 75% of that? Now, you don't have a calculator tomorrow.
36.
Okay, now some of you can do it in your head, but instead of multiplying it by 0.75, would it be easier to do 3/4? Isn't 75% 3/4? So what is 3/4 of 48? 4 goes into 48, 12 times. 12 times 3 is 36. So you want to win at least 36 games total. Well, If you want 17 in the first half, how many do you have to win in the second half to get 36 wins? 17 plus what equals 36? Are you serious? This is simple subtraction. 19. So in the second half, you have to win at least 19 games, but you gotta answer the question. What is the greatest number of games that you can lose in the second half? Well, if you have to win 19 games, then you can lose 5. That's the answer. See, we didn't even use any variables. This is a pre-algebra problem. Okay, permutation lock has 4 dials. This is a permutation. Each dial having the digits from 0 to 9. How many permutations are possible? Well, how many choices do you have for the first dial? No, 0 to 9. 10. How many choices do I have for the second dial? Third. 4. Multiply the numbers, 10,000, finished. The multiplication principle. That might be one of the easiest problems on the whole test tomorrow. I know, if anybody gets that problem wrong tomorrow, take out triple then. How's that?
I need fairness.
Why? That's so easy.
What if it's like the last one you don't have to?
Now, for some reason, the other class had problems with this, but this is easy. Okay, how do you solve an equation like this? You have to isolate this next term here. So, first step, get rid of this -5. Add 5 to both sides. Divide by 2. Okay, now, once you get to this step, how do I get rid of this 3/2 power here? Raise both sides to the
Second.
2/3 power. Because your goal is to solve for x, right? So what exponent do I put here so that when I multiply the exponents you get 1? Because you want x to the 1, right? Yeah, the reciprocal, whatever the reciprocal of 3/2 is 2/3. So raise both sides to the 2/3 power. So the answer is 27 to the 2/3 power, but that's not going to be one of the choices. You got to simplify that. Now, we talked about this earlier in the year. How do you simplify 27 to the 2/3 power?
You square it.
Should I square it first
No.
and then cube root it?
You cube
Or
root it.
should I cube root it
Cube root it,
first
'cause it's on the
and then
bottom.
square it?
Cube root.
Yeah, you do the root part first because it makes the number smaller. What is the cube root of 27?
3.
And then 3 squared?
9.
9, so x equals 9. Easy, right?
You always do the bottom one first?
Yeah. Here, okay, let's do another practice
No,
on
no,
class.
it's fine.
It's okay, I understand.
You sure? Because I have to do 3 examples for the other class. Numbers, so you're telling me you're smarter than the other class?
Yeah, we are.
Yeah, there's
The average says no.
on that.
But it doesn't matter, right? We don't want to compare, do we?
Yes, we do. It's a competition.
Okay, what's the base graph of this? What's the base graph? Y equal x squared. What is the graph of y equal x squared?
Parabola.
It's a parabola, your basic standard everyday parabola. So what does this do to the graph? It shifts it
To the
2
left.
to the left, and that will
One
shift
down.
it 1 down. So if I shift it 2 to the left and 1 down, the vertex will be there now. So you just gotta know how to shift the graphs. It's quite easy. Now, of course, you know tomorrow what's gonna happen, right? One answer is gonna be like this, another one's gonna be shifted 2 left and 1 up. Another one is gonna be 2 right and 1 up. And another one's gonna be 2 right and 1 down. You gotta know, because they know what mistakes students make. Okay, 38. Oh, another class had problems with this. This is algebra 2A, but they said a lot of them. Oh, and by the way, my answer on the bottom is wrong too. But did anybody do this problem? Say so, it doesn't even matter. Okay, does this sound familiar from algebra 2A? Recursive sequence.
Oh, I hated sequences. So bad.
Okay, now it says in this problem, what is a sub 4? So, a sub 0, a sub 1, a sub 2, a sub 3, a sub 4. This is what you want. You have to figure out a sub 4. Now, they already told you what a sub 1, a sub 0, and a sub 1 are. You have to understand this formula. This is, we call that a recursive formula. Now, if a sub n represents any term in the sequence, what does a sub n minus 1 represent?
That term,
The
one
term
previous. One
before,
previous.
yeah, the previous term, one before it. What does a sub n minus 2 represent?
2 terms.
Yeah, the term before that one, right? So, to read this, to get any term in the sequence, you multiply the two previous, how do you say that?
So if it's a sub 4, then a sub 2.
Previous term by 3, and then you subtract the previous one.
Wait,
That's what this means.
What?
Look, if you have n, what happens, what's the one before that?
n minus 1.
Would it- Okay, here, an. What's the one before that? An minus 1, right? What's the one before that?
A minus
An minus 2. What's the one before that? An minus 3. What's the one after this?
an plus 1.
An plus 1, right? So, this is any term, this is the term that comes before that, this is the one that's before that one, the previous term. So, again, to get any term in the sequence, you multiply the previous one by 3, and then subtract the previous. So, to get this one, what do? You multiply this one by 3,
6.
and then you subtract that. So 6 minus 5
1.
is 1. How do you get this number? You multiply the previous one, which is this, by 3, 15, and then you subtract that one. 15 minus 1.
14.
And then, how do I get this one? This is the answer right here. How do I get this one? You multiply that one by 3, and you subtract that one. So, multiply that by 3.
3.
Subtract 14.
11.
Negative 11.
Don't you just have to plug in 4 for
No, you can't. Oh yeah? Okay, this is what Monica was saying. Can't I just plug in 4 for n?
Yeah.
Okay, here, a sub 4 is equal to 3, a sub, what is 4 minus 2? 2, minus a sub 4 minus 1, 3. So to get the fourth term, you take the second term, which is this, multiply it by 3, and then subtract that one. But that's what we did, right?
So we have to feed. 'Cause we don't
But
know
then,
what to do,
but then, if you want, no, but to get this one, you have to know these two. But to know these two, you gotta know these two.
So can't you start by plugging in those? Instead
Yeah,
of thinking about the previous and then the one before?
Yeah, but that's what this means. This means the previous.
Yeah, but that's very complicated.
Okay.
Okay, you can do that then, just plug in numbers, that works too. Whatever works. Okay, hey, we're on the last page, we're there. Now, what is the domain of this function? Now, how do you find the domain of a square root function? Anytime you have a square root, the inside has to be, we did many of this in the first one.
Positive.
Gotta be
Zero.
greater than or equal to 0, because you can square root 0, right? Yeah, you just cannot square root negative numbers because you get imaginary, right? So, okay, now how do you solve inequalities?
You make one side,
0, which it is,
Zero.
and then what do you do with this side?
and you make a new number that.
You gotta factor it first though. You factor it, ooh, wrong way, and then now you make it. Anytime you have an inequality, number line. Yeah. Negative 2 and 2, right? Are these two numbers part of the solution or not part?
They are part,
How come? How do you know?
because it's equal to 0.
Okay, good. And then you test. Think of a number bigger than 2. 3. Plug it in. 3 plus 2 is positive. 3 minus 2 is positive. Positive times positive is positive. And you can keep going. Think of a number between negative 2 and 2. 0. 0 plus 2 is positive. 0 minus 2 is negative. Positive times negative is negative. Or you can use the shortcut I taught you. If you have odd power, the thing changes. There's an odd power here, so it's going to change, right? Or another thing you can do is look at the graph. This is a parabola opening upward. It's above, below, above, so that's why it's plus, minus, plus. So there's lots of things you can do to figure out these signs. Personally, I just plug in numbers, that's what I do. You can do it fast. Well, it alternates because these are odd, but then what if you have an even power? Then it doesn't alternate anymore, so. Whatever. And then what do I shade in? Do I shade in the pluses or the minus? Since it's greater than or equal to 0. You shade in the pluses, so your final answer is going to be negative infinity to negative 2, and then from 2 to infinity. But like I said, you can save time because you don't have to write this, you just have to pick out the answer. Okay, 40. Given this equation, what kind of roots are obtained if b squared minus 4ac is less than 0? So again, that's the discriminant. That's the thing inside the radical in the quadratic formula, right? So if this thing is negative, what kind of roots do you have?
Imaginary.
Imaginary roots. We just talked about that 5 minutes ago, right? Okay, 41. Why am I hearing crinkling? Minus 3y is less than or equal to 6. Okay, we just talked about how do you graph inequalities? You isolate the y. So negative 3y is less than or equal to negative 2x plus 6. How do I solve for y? Divide by negative 3. But what happens when you divide an inequality by a negative number? It changes to greater than. Divide that by negative 3, so it becomes positive 2/3 x, and divide that by negative 3, it's negative 2. So to graph an inequality, first you pretend that that's equal. How do you graph y equal to 2x minus 3? Come on, that's just a line, right? The y-intercept is negative 2, and the slope is 2/3. So if I go 2 up, that means you gotta go 3 to the right, correct?
Mm-hmm.
So the line looks like this now. When I draw the line, do I make a dotted line or a solid line?
Solid.
How come? Because it says greater than or equal to, so you make a solid line. And which side do I shade in, above or below? Since it's
Above.
greater than. Above, so that means it's all of this stuff over there. Greater than means above, less than means below, but you have to isolate the y. Okay, we're at 42, we're getting there. Oh, this one is so easy, this is pre-algebra. A jar contains 3 red, 4 blue, and 5 green marbles. A green marble is removed. So how many green marbles are there now if you remove a green? It started with 5, remove 1.
4.
Thank you. And I'm going to add 2 red marbles to the jar. So how many red marbles are there now?
5.
5. So if I randomly pick one, what's the probability of drawing a blue marble? Well, how many total blue marbles are there?
4.
How many total marbles are there?
13.
So simple.
Mm.
You don't even have to write an equation for that. In fact, that's lower than pre-algebra, yeah? Okay, 43. Given, okay, the other class struggled with this one too. But not period 8 or period 2. Okay, now when you have 2 lines, 3 things can happen. They can intersect at one point. You know, you don't have to know the names either. Remember, with the other test, you have to know that this is consistent, inconsistent, and they're the same line is dependent. You don't have to know the names. But 3 things can happen. They can intersect at one point, they can be parallel or they don't intersect at all, or they're the same line and then you have an infinite number of points of intersection. So in this problem, it's saying find the values of A and B so that there will be more than one solution. Now what does that mean, more than one? That means this one. They're the same line. There's an infinite number of solutions. Now, in order for these two to be the same line, then what?
Same slope.
Not just the same slope.
Same
it's-
equation.
They gotta be the exact same equation. Now, what will make this the exact same equation?
Multiply by
Like,
3.
how do you get from 1 to 3?
Multiply by 3.
So what you gotta do is you gotta multiply this by 3 because you gotta get the exact same equation. So if you multiply by 3, you're gonna get what? 6x plus 9y equals 3. You guys know why I multiply by 3?
Yeah.
Because that number's a 3, right? So what does A have to be? Look. I'm pointing at it.
6.
6, and B gotta be
9.
9. There you go. In order to have more than one solution, they have to be exactly the same line. Okay, 44. Okay, the class forgot their logarithms for some reason. I don't know what happened there. I'll tell you right now, in the final exam, you've got plenty log problems. But don't worry. Do the practice test, you'll be fine.
Doing 6.
What is log base b of 300 in terms of x, y, and z? So what you want to do is break down 300 so that you can use your properties of logarithms. Now, how do you prime factor 300? 300 is what?
100 times 3.
Okay. And then 100 is what?
25 times 4.
Okay. And then 25 is 5 times 5, and 4 is 2 times 2, right?
Yep.
So the prime factorization of 300 would be 3 times 5 squared times 2 squared, right? Okay, now you gotta use your properties of logarithms. When you're multiplying these things here,
Just add them up.
then the logs are what? Added together like this. Does that sound familiar?
Just one of the properties of logs.
Property of logarithms, if the argument is multiplied, then you add the logs like this. And then if it was divided, then you subtract the logs. And then also, when you have a power, what can I do with the power?
Put it in
Put it
front.
in the front. You have a power, put it in the front. So what is log base 3 of 3? Right here. That's y. Plus 2 times what is log base b of 5? That's z. Plus 2 times what is log base b of 2?
That's x.
That's x. Finished. Just pick out your answer.
That's it.
Yeah, but some of you, if you forgot your properties of logarithms, then they're going to have other answers there to distract you. 45. Graph. Oh, come on. Okay, since that's a minus sign, what is the graph going to be?
Dude, that's not bad.
If it's a plus sign, it's an ellipse. Minus sign,
Hyperbola.
hyperbola.
Oh.
What's the center of this hyperbola? No, x minus 0, y minus 0. It's 0, 0. Okay, the square root of that number tells you how much to go left and right. So you go 3 left, 3 right. The square root of that number tells you how much to go up and down. So you go 4 up, 4 down. Now, if this were an ellipse,
That's
you just go
only
like
when X
this.
is in front, right?
What?
Oh, this one has to make
No,
the
no,
box.
no, no,
yeah.
no,
The
no.
box.
The number under the x always tells you how much to go left and right, and the number under the y tells you how much to go up and down, no matter what.
Okay.
Okay? Now, if this were an ellipse, you just go like that, finish. But this is a minus sign, it's a hyperbola.
Make the
So you
box.
gotta make a box. Then you draw in the diagonals. Now, this is a 50-50 chance right here. Either the hyperbola is gonna be like this, up left and right, or it's gonna be up and down.
Left and right.
So if the x comes first, which one is it?
Slide.
It's left and right. There. And then you just pick out your answer.
Early.
I guarantee you, you know what kind of answers they're gonna put there, right? They're gonna have this one, gonna have that one, and they're gonna have another one where there's 4 left, 4 right, 3 up, 3 down, right? They wanna distract you. So you gotta know what you're doing. It might be multiple choice, but you know, you make the wrong move, you can pick the wrong answer. Okay, we're almost done. Okay, write this as a single logarithm. So that's the same thing as this problem, except we're going the other direction. Okay? So when you have a number in the front, what can I do with it?
It's a power.
Put it up as the power. When the so the number in the front, you can put it up as the power. Now, when you add two logarithms together, what do you do with these two arguments? You multiply them, and when you subtract the logarithm, you divide. There you go, that's your answer. So if you know your properties of logarithms, it's quite easy to pick out the answer right there. Of course, but like I said, you can have the kind that, like, if you don't know, then, oh, I think it's this, but it's not. Okay, change the f of x to y. Why am I changing the f of x to y? Because it says to find the inverse. That symbol means the inverse. How do you find the inverse of any equation? What do you do?
Switch the x's and
You
y's.
switch the x's and y's like that, and then you solve for y. How do you solve for y? Put the 5 on this side. So x plus 5 equals 3y. Divide by 3. This is quite easy, people. Bam, that's your answer. You know, these problems are designed so that you can finish it in less than a minute. Okay, next. Oh, 48. Now, some problems, of course, are going to take longer than a minute, and this would be one of them. Now, how do I solve an inequality like this? Can I multiply both sides by x minus 2?
No, you have to.
No. If you do that, I guarantee you the answer could be waiting for you and you could be wrong. How come I can't multiply both sides by x minus 2 again? Because you don't know whether that's positive or negative. It makes a difference when you have an inequality. Like if you had an equal sign there, yes, then you multiply by x minus 2. But in an inequality, you can't do that. So what do? You make one side 0. We went over this. Always make one side 0, and then you make a number line. But before you can make a number line, you gotta simplify this. So since you're subtracting, you gotta make a least common denominator. What goes on the top?
6 minus 4, not that minus 3.
Okay, but make sure you put the parentheses there now. Distribute the negative sign. See, like if you don't distribute that minus sign, I bet you that answer is gonna be waiting for you too. Okay, so 4x minus x, so this comes out to 3x plus 2 all over x minus 2. Okay, now, once you get it there, now you can make the number line like that. What goes on the number line? What makes the top 0? Are you serious? Negative 2/3. What makes the bottom 0? Now, is negative 2/3 part of the solution or not part of the solution?
Part,
What about 2?
not part.
How come?
Denominator's not
Yeah,
part.
denominator cannot be 0. So 1 is part, the other one is not. Okay, test. Think of a number bigger than 2. 3. 9 plus 2 is positive. No crinkling.
I don't know.
3 minus 2 is positive. Positive over positive is positive. How do I know they're gonna alternate?
Because it's the power.
Because they both have odd powers on them. Now, like I said, if you don't know anything, think of a number between negative 2/3 and 2. 0. 0 plus 2 is positive. 0 minus 2 is negative. Positive divided by negative, negative. I mean, do whatever. Okay? Anyway, you should get this. And which one do I shade in? Since it's
That's
less than.
negative,
You
negative.
shade in the negative one, so your answer is going to be negative 2/3 to 2, but including this one and not that one. I guarantee you tomorrow, you know what they're going to have? They're going to have this one. They're going to have this one.
You know.
They're going to have this one. And then they're also going to have the one where you multiply both sides by x minus 2, which is definitely wrong.
Wait, so there's 5 choices?
Yeah. Yes, it's 5 choices.
Wait, what are those parentheses?
Parentheses means it doesn't include, and the bracket means it includes.
Oh,
What kind of question is that? Okay, we're almost done, we're almost done. Oh, okay, 49 is easy, let's do it up here. Okay, what is the base graph for this? This is the base graph. You guys remember what that graph is?
It's like an arrow, yeah.
Remember, you guys have to remember the 2 points. 1, 1, and negative 1, negative 1, and it goes like this, and it goes like that, right? Or is that gone from the memory?
So it's 2
Okay, so once you know what this graph looks like, what does this do to the graph? It shifts it 2
right,
to the right, and what does this do to the graph?
3 up.
It shifts it 3 up. So all you gotta do is take this graph, go 2 right and 3 up, so here. 2 right, 3 up, and then I would draw in the asymptotes like this, and go 1, 1, negative 1, negative 1, so hanganga, hanganga. But see, tomorrow you don't even have to do that, you just gotta pick it out. It's easy. However, on the final exam, that's a whole nother story. And then 50, solve 3 equations, 3 variables. Okay, the other class had problems with this. Okay, now whenever you have 3 equations, 3 variables, the first thing you do is you have to eliminate one of the variables. Which one do you want to eliminate? X, Y, or Z? Z. Okay, just pick one, it doesn't matter, okay. So, if I want to, look at the first 3 equations. If I want to eliminate Z, see this is Z, then don't I want to multiply this equation by negative 1 then?
Yeah.
Okay, so the first equation is x plus y plus z equals 6. Multiply this equation by negative 1, you can get negative 2x plus 3y minus z equals negative 1. See how like they're opposite, so then if you add them, they cancel out. So add these 2 equations, what do you get? Negative x plus 4y, the z's cancel out, equals 5. See, now we have only 2 variables, that's what you want. You want to reduce this from 3 equations to 3 variables to 2 equations, 2 variables. Okay, now, you have to somehow involve the 3rd equation. So you want to do first and third, or second and third? It doesn't
Second
matter.
and third, second and
Okay, second and third. So you look at the second one. See, this is negative 2z, so I want that to be positive 2z. So I'm going to multiply this by 2. So you get 4x minus 6y plus 2z equals 2, and then you leave this one alone.